you name it, we're going to go there really quickly and go live as well. There's an important conversation that we're about to have, an important conversation with regard to our youth, the youth of South Africa. Today we're shining this huge spotlight on a South African organization that is changing the trajectory of young lives. One success story at a time. Girls and Boys Town South Africa has spent the past 67 years providing healing, nurturing, and hope to vulnerable youth who faced some of life's toughest challenges, from abuse. See, that stopped working too. Smack it, put it right. There you go. They've faced from abuse to neglect to poverty and basically the breakdown of family. So to talk more on the impact of holistic care, education, and support on vulnerable youth, we're joined this morning by Karen Farad, the CEO of Girls and Boys Town South Africa. Good morning, Karen. Welcome to the Breakfast Rush, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Michelle and Nazmira. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
And we're also grateful that you understood the plight in studio with the electricity issues and just gave us a few minutes to get through it. Karen, for our listeners who may not know, can you briefly explain what Girls and Boys Town South Africa is and the work that it does?
Thank you. So, Girls and Boys Town South Africa is a child and youth care organization focused on the care of young people who have experienced challenges in their lives, and through the course of that, have responded to it in inappropriate ways by, developing behavior that to protect themselves mostly, and also to survive. So survival behaviors that are not always appropriate. And they typically referred to as children with behavioral challenges. So Girls and Boys Town caters for young people in that range, and they are typically in the ages of 11 to 18 and are admitted to Girls and Boys Town through a legal process. All children who are placed in facilities like Girls and Boys Town, those processes are conducted through the Children's Court, where really in-depth assessments need to be done whether or not a child needs to in fact be removed from their families and placed in alternative care such as Girls and Boys Town. So that is what we are. The young people who come into our care, we continue to work with them and their families where they have families, and if not, we try and connect them with appropriate adults in their lives so that they have a support network. And then they also attend schools in the communities surrounding the facilities where we are based.
Mm-hmm. Now, you recently shared some inspiring academic results from Girls and Boys Town South Africa in 2024. Can you tell us more about those outcomes and what they mean to you?
Well, those are just astounding, results from young people, as mentioned, who come from circumstances that almost from the outset of their lives has been challenging. So even pre-birth, our young people experience numerous traumas. And as you know, trauma affects learning, it affects how you pay attention in the classroom. And so when young people come to us, they already have an educational deficit. So for the youth in our care to achieve matric and to successfully complete matric, that is a great achievement. It's not the only measure, of course, because we look for incremental improvement in young people's academics, and we focus very, very strongly on supporting them with learning support services. So it is astounding. And again, we know that, as I said, our young people go into the normal, schools in the community, and those schools themselves are fraught with challenges, overcrowding, and all of that. And our young people overcome their own personal challenges as well as, the the societal challenges. So it's really amazing achievements from our young people, the pass rate that they've achieved.
Absolutely. One of the most powerful parts of your reflection is how young people thrive once they're placed in a nurturing environment. What are some of the key elements in the GBTSA model that help children adapt and succeed?
Yeah, I think that, when young people come into care, there's an acceptance of who they are and an understanding of what they've been through. So, our staff are obviously very well trained to work with young people with behavioral challenges, and that, can display itself in numerous different ways. Young people aren't always initially accepting of the help because they haven't experienced caring adults in their lives always. So the most important thing is for them to feel or develop trust, to feel that the environment is safe, and that is through consistent display and demonstration of care and support from the adults in their lives. And so that talks to the physical environment, the social environment that is created for them. And we recognize, of course, that just stepping over the threshold onto Girls and Boys Town is not the immediate. We're not going to see immediate changes. So we also look for, building step by step, teaching young people to understand themselves, know, where the pain is coming from, and then to help them find alternatives to dealing with that pain that they've experienced.
Mhm. You also involve families and caregivers in your programs. Why is that family reintegration element so critical to long-term success?
It's Asmira, I can't even begin to say how important it is, because all of us in our lives, we need a network of people around us. And we recognize, of course, that many of our young children, they've already been in the care system for a while. So they've been removed perhaps from their biological families, but that doesn't mean that there can't be other caring and significant people in their lives. So where that is the case, we work very hard to establish networks around young people. So connecting them with what's happening in the activities in the community and all of that. But where there is family, we work very, very hard to reconnect and rebuild those relationships. So that young people can be reintegrated either into their families or into a alternative caring network, because we all know that young people cannot remain in care for all of their lives. So the care system, the youth care system, provides, for care for young people up to the age of 18, but we have to prepare them for beyond that. And so firstly, by strengthening themselves, so that they can, they have the independent living skills to manage out in the world, and then, to build the networks wherever possible. So that might be in school. They may be part of a soccer club. They may attend Girl Guides or Scouts or, church or mosques. So we build all of those networks for them so that when they leave, they have a network. And of course, Girls and Boys Town, even once youth leave us, remain there to support them. We have we follow up on all of the young people that leave us, and then we also provide support if it's for education, to pay fees for tertiary or accommodation beyond their stay at Girls and Boys Town. But that network, because none of us survive with only ourselves, and we all have numerous people in our lives that play different roles, of different levels of significance. But it is important for young people to know that there is someone or people out there that care for them.
Karen, you've expressed optimism about government plans to increase investment in early childhood development. Why do you believe ECD is such a crucial piece of the puzzle for South Africa's future?
Well, ECD is the foundation. It is, where children receive the developmental sort of educational and academic building blocks for education. And if children don't have a good foundation in that, they struggle, from that time on. If they're going into, grade R and then primary school, and there are numerous children who fail to complete education. They drop out, and that's because the foundation blocks aren't there. They haven't had the nurturing, the stimulation, just the little things that need to be developed, like fine motor skills and gross motor skills. And because there are other deficits in the family, like maybe they don't have the necessary nutrition, and that all affects learning. And if they are in an ECD facility, at least a lot of that will be, the support would be there, the necessary materials that they need will be there. And that will, if we have a good foundation for all children starting off the education, then obviously the end results are going to be better. More and more children will, go through the education system, complete it successfully, have the necessary tools in order to do that. So I think it really is a groundbreaking step if we can achieve that for all young children to have the early childhood foundation that they need to support also what happens in the family. But we know that for the vast majority of children who are living in poverty-stricken environments, that isn't the case. And so therefore, they start off life at a deficit. So if we can reduce that deficit emotionally and with regard to stimulation and, just the wonders of learning, then that would be great.
Mm-hmm. As a final question for this morning, can you briefly tell us about the work you do in the Tongaat area?
So Girls and Boys Town has a what we call a youth development center, and it is based in the Genazzano Tongaat area. So we have a facility there for it's young boys who, as I said, fit the criteria and are placed in our care through the children's court. And unfortunately, we can accommodate at this stage only a small number of youth. That is 28 youth. So the youth come to us, and they come from not only from the Genazzano Tongaat area, but from the greater KZN area as obviously as well. And then we work with them in that facility. They go to schools and attend schools in the surrounding area. And we obviously also, ensure that the youth are engaged in religious activities in the community, recreational activities in the community as well. And then just to add, we also have a home for girls, which is based in Verulam, where we accommodate 10 young girls as well.
Karen, I want to thank you and your team for the hard work that you're doing in ensuring these young boys and girls have a little bit of support and that push forward in life and just standing by them. Thank you for the hard work that you're doing. And thank you for your time this morning here on the show.
Thank you, Nishal. Thanks, Nasmira, and have a good day. Thanks for allowing us this opportunity. Okay. Goodbye.
Absolutely. That was the CEO of Girls and Boys Town, South Africa, giving us a little bit of insight into the work that they do. We're just putting the spotlight on this organization. It's a South African organization that's changing the trajectory of young lives. One success story at a time. That's all we need. Just one success story at a time. And they've been doing this for the past 67 years now.
Talk about light at the end of the tunnel. That was brilliant. Very, very radiant. It's amazing to know that, in the darkness of everything that happens around us, there is still people with hearts that care about everyone else, not just their limited circle.
No, most definitely. And that's the spotlight this morning. So what we're doing at the moment, and just before I explain that, and I see that we're still live on the socials as well. So let me just say to you, to the camera, at approximately 5 minutes to 7 this morning, there was an electrical outage, a power outage in the radio station half of our building. So the teams all jumped up We've got brother Zach, who is not an electrician by any means, but just jumped into action. Myself, Nazmira, there were people on the telephone that were still getting ready for their day at work and just jumped into action as well. So thank you to Nizam and everybody else who just jumped into action. It took a little bit. It took a little while to figure out how to get it switched back on. I do know that the generator is still running and giving us electricity now. So what we're trying to do, as we're doing the interview and everything else, we're trying to get all the streams running again. I know the Zeno stream is running at the moment. We'll reboot your general stream that's going to the website and everywhere else, because I'm getting messages that it's still off. Thank you to those of you that are still tuned in, still listening in to Radio Al Ansar, and of course, your breakfast rush.
Dear listeners, we apologize for the radio interference, which is no fault of Radio Al Ansar. Our service providers are